SpongeBob used his tongue like a ruler inside his mouth to hold wooden planks in place and decided to build a new Krusty Burger restaurant on top of the original one. One day, a burger piece accidentally fell into the chimney and smoke filled the entire place, causing the customers to run away in fear. SpongeBob climbed up to the roof and reached out to grab the burger, but as he was coming down, he slipped on ketchup and the burger slammed hard onto the ground. When he saw how high he was, he suddenly became afraid of heights and completely refused to come down. Patrick decided to help and climbed up to convince him to jump to reassure him. Patrick chose to jump first, but that only made SpongeBob even more scared, so he stayed up there until nightfall. The weather turned freezing, and he tried to build a small bed out of wood under the restaurant, but it did not protect him from the cold. The next day, SpongeBob was still too afraid to come down, so Mr. Krabs decided to move the grill up to the roof and was happy that business could continue. SpongeBob set up a simple kitchen on the roof and started cooking new burgers, but then realized he could not deliver them to the customers below, so he used toilet paper like a parachute to lower the burgers down. However, the customers noticed the burgers were cold. They got angry and went up to the roof themselves to eat hot food, turning the roof into a restaurant in the sky. Mr. Krabs was flying with joy because of all the business, while Squidward was the only one who stayed downstairs enjoying the peace. Suddenly, rain started falling and strong winds blew the customers away. To keep them, SpongeBob quickly built another Krusty Burger restaurant on the roof. The people soon got bored because the feeling of eating in the air was gone. When SpongeBob noticed they were about to leave, they decided to throw a party outside. The rain kept pouring and mud began to flood the ground while Squidward was sleeping and unaware of everything until the restaurant below was completely destroyed. At that moment, SpongeBob finally came down and Squidward walked straight into a disaster.
SpongeBob put a glass shell on Gary. It was the right size, but the visible veins made it look a little scary. It turned out that SpongeBob had accidentally broken Gary's shell at the beginning. Gary was very upset, so SpongeBob tried to put it back together and give it to him, but it broke again. Then he tried giving him one made from his clothes, but that did not work either. When he tried putting a helmet on him instead of a shell, Gary threw a book in his face, and the book turned out to be a magazine about snail shells. SpongeBob saw the original ghost shell that looked exactly like Gary's, but its price was $955. He found it too expensive, but suddenly he saw a TV advertisement for a shell shop, having discounts called Jack Shell Shop. In seconds, SpongeBob went there and told Jack he wanted a new shell for Gary. Jack was happy to finally have a customer. The first shell he chose was a pink one, similar to the original, but the size did not fit. Then Jack brought a yellow shell that fit perfectly, but SpongeBob decided to test its strength and crushed it easily in his hand. Jack did not get angry because the filming was live, so SpongeBob decided to choose by himself, but broke another shell while just looking around. Then he saw a third one, but tripped over his shoelace and fell. Jack got fed up and told him not to touch any other shells. In the end, Jack brought him a very hard metallic shell, but it was so shiny that SpongeBob got confused and crashed into the shell behind it, causing the whole shelf to fall like dominoes. The result was that all the shells broke. People thought Jack had run out of stock, but it turned out he had a super shell made of a very strong metal. This time, SpongeBob decided to be careful. He tied his shoes tightly, dried his hands, wrapped them with insulating foam, and carefully held the shell, and still it broke. Jack exploded with anger and demanded got it for him. Then Mr. Krabs came in, looking satisfied, wrapped himself in a blanket, and left. But Gary was upset and closed the door on SpongeBob, leaving him outside. No compensation. SpongeBob gave him all his money, but Jack said it was not enough and asked for his arms, and SpongeBob agreed. Then he asked for other body parts, and even his eye, and SpongeBob agreed as well. So SpongeBob ended up bankrupt and in debt. He took a cardboard shell from the trash and put it on Gary, and Gary started crying, and SpongeBob cried with him from guilt. Suddenly Mr. Krabs appeared, and SpongeBob told him that if he found a proper shell for Gary, he would work for him for free for a whole year. They agreed. That same night, SpongeBob saw something scary in the dark, and when he turned on the flashlight, he discovered it was Gary with a new shell that looked strange. Clearly, Mr. Krabs was the one who... Mr. Krabs wanted to increase profits, so he kept squeezing oil out of burger after burger until he discovered that beneath the restaurant floor, there was used oil stored for 10 years. Getting rid of it would cost a lot of money, so he decided to load it into his car tank and dump it next to Sheldon's restaurant. The next day, he was shocked to find that all the customers had gone to Sheldon. He thought the secret formula had been stolen, but the truth was that Sheldon had invented a sandwich made from used oil. At that point, Mr. Krabs ordered SpongeBob to add more oil to the burgers. SpongeBob tried to explain that it was unhealthy food, but Mr. Krabs didn't care. The customers returned to Mr. Krabs, but Sheldon released an even greasier product, so everyone went back to him again. Mr. Krabs went crazy and ordered the food to be drowned in even more oil. Oil spilled all over the floor, and he got a crazy idea to release a burger soaked entirely in oil, and people rushed to buy it. Sheldon responded with products made from used oil, and customers kept going back and forth until Mr. Krabs decided to sell the used oil itself. People liked the idea until their stomachs exploded from all the fat and they could no longer walk. The entire restaurant was flooded with oil, and Bikini Bottom entered a full-on fat war. At that moment, SpongeBob realized things were out of control and reported it to the health inspector. Mr. Krabs tried to silence the truth, threw SpongeBob in the trash, and even pushed him off a cliff, but the inspector understood everything and ordered the place to be shut down until the oil was cleaned up. Mr. Krabs was finished because cleaning that amount was impossible, but SpongeBob remembered that he was a giant sponge and absorbed all the oil into his body. And just like that, the fat war ended and the Krusty Krab returned without oil. Plankton accidentally traveled 2,000 years into the future. At that time, SpongeBob no longer existed as he once was. He had evolved and turned into a metallic cube. Bikini Bottom, which was always crowded, had become a ruined place, permanently closed. Even the Krabby Patty secret formula was no longer a secret and had become common knowledge. All of this started with the time capsule that Sandy had broken into a machine designed to store things for 2,000 years. When Mr. Krabs placed a burger inside the capsule, the machine was about to close. Suddenly, Plankton arrived in a rocket trying to steal the burger. Just as he was celebrating, Mr. Krabs quickly sealed the capsule, trapping Plankton inside for 2,000 years. During that time, Plankton survived by eating the burger, and after tasting it thousands of times, he finally understood the secret formula. He was thrilled with his discovery until he realized the outside world had changed in a terrifying way. Bikini Bottom had turned completely into metal. Plankton went to his future home and found that Karen had become a floating metal sphere. He asked her to help him rule the place, but Karen told him he first needed to understand how the world had become the way it was. He went to Squidward's house and found it had turned into a museum. His music had become a trend and people in the future were chasing it everywhere. The irony was that during his life, no one cared about his art, but after his death, he became a legend. Then they went to Patrick's home, which used to be a rock, and in the future, Patrick had merged with his house, turning into his bed and falling asleep inside it. After that, Karen took Plankton to the pineapple house. When the door opened, they saw SpongeBob. Karen explained that this was only a hologram and that the real SpongeBob had transformed into a metal cube, leaving behind only his recorded laughter. Plankton did not care about any of this. All he wanted was to use the Krabby Patty formula he had learned to rule the world. But Karen shattered his dream by telling him that Bikini Bottom was now a wasteland and that the burger formula was no longer special, since everyone could make delicious burgers, so there was no longer any need for restaurants. Plankton despised this future and demanded that Karen take him back to the past. Just like before, she took him to Sandy's place, and although she warned him, Plankton was shocked by Sandy's three-dimensional form and begged her to send him back. But he discovered that she had been waiting for him all along and that the dome was actually a reverse time capsule. She sent Plankton back to the past, and after he left, his future self appeared from behind a rock, now with hair, clothes, a full body, and muscles. When they returned to Bikini Bottom, Sandy completed her final mission by erasing Plankton's memory of the burger formula and everything that had happened. After that, when Plankton saw Mr. Krabs placing the burger into the time capsule again, just like before, he ran toward him once more, and the scene nearly repeated itself exactly as it had the first time.
Mr. Krabs suddenly discovered that Gary had a very strange ability. He could suck in money. Mr. Krabs was extremely happy, took him to work at the Krusty Krab, and as soon as they arrived, he asked Gary to show his power. Suddenly, all the coins hidden in the corner started getting pulled in. Even the money inside the customers' pockets came out on its own. Anyone who entered the Krusty Krab had their money sucked away against their will. In a short time, Mr. Krabs' pockets were filled more than ever, but the customers became very angry and left the restaurant. That's when Mr. Krabs decided to close the place. SpongeBob was shocked and wanted to take Gary and leave, but Mr. Krabs ordered him to clean the kitchen. After that, he took Gary out to the street, pointed him toward a sewer, and all the money hidden inside it was sucked out in seconds. But Gary was about to collapse, and Mr. Krabs kept threatening him. At that moment, SpongeBob appeared, so Mr. Krabs pretended that he only wanted to feed Gary. SpongeBob believed him and went back to the restaurant. Suddenly, they found themselves at the amusement park, the place with the most money in Bikini Bottom. Mr. Krabs hid in a corner, and whenever SpongeBob showed money, he made Gary suck it in. But he didn't get to enjoy the money for long because someone alerted security. Mr. Krabs disguised himself as a pregnant woman so he wouldn't get caught. By then, Gary was completely exhausted, and with all the money around them, Mr. Krabs lost control and started imagining himself as a millionaire. But when he tried to leave with Gary, they discovered that his power had stopped. SpongeBob confronted Mr. Krabs and exposed his trick. Suddenly, Gary lost control and his ability activated on its own. The money in the customer's hands began flying toward him, and SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs started fighting. In an instant, the place was flooded with money like a wave. Mr. Krabs threw Gary towards SpongeBob and jumped into the pile of money himself, his eyes shining. He didn't notice the danger until he got badly injured from the massive amount of money. After that, SpongeBob asked the doctor why Gary had this strange ability. The doctor told him it was because Gary had swallowed a magnet. When Mr. Krabs saw the huge hospital bill, he panicked. In the end, the doctor took the treatment money from the cash that Gary had sucked in.
To the chef's mouth. No one could resist the taste of a Krabby Patty. Not even the chef. He dropped to the floor and began devouring it without a shred of dignity. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Krusty Krab had been transformed into a so-called luxury restaurant. Mr. Krabs served a tiny dish and proudly announced it was fine dining worth $200. Squidward complained that the food smelled terrible, but the chef snapped back, saying it was a rare fruit with a natural scent. He even covered it with gold leaves to remove the smell, rubbing gold all over it while Mr. Krabs clutched his chest in pain at the sight. The chef went on, explaining that fine dining needed elegant tools and expensive decor. But the moment he sat down, the chair collapsed. It turned out Mr. Krabs had built all the decor out of cardboard to save money. The chef completely lost it. Outside, however, there was a long line of happy customers eating Krabby Patties with huge smiles. When the chef saw this success, he finally understood. Just then, the alarm rang, the shift was over. SpongeBob grabbed his bag and started to leave, but the chef stopped him and admitted the customers couldn't live without Krabby Patties. That's when SpongeBob got an idea. He stuffed all the Krabby Patties into his bag and walked away. One customer grabbed his leg, but nothing could stop him from returning to the Krusty Krab. At that very moment, the Krusty Krab was being declared bankrupt. Everything was being taken away to pay off debts, even Squidward. Mr. Krabs was ready to hand him over when suddenly the chef walked in. Mr. Krabs thought the chef had come to save him, but instead, the chef calmly announced he was only there to collect his unpaid salary.
SpongeBob lost his sense of taste, so he decided to change his tongue, and one day, Plankton tried to steal the secret Krabby Patty formula. SpongeBob accidentally stepped on him, thought he was a banana, threw him into his mouth, and blew him up inside his throat. Plankton used glue and stuck himself tightly to SpongeBob's tongue. SpongeBob went to the Krusty Krab and greeted Squidward, but the smell was so horrible it grabbed him by the neck. SpongeBob breathed out, and the smell hit him too. So he sprayed mouth freshener and almost blinded Plankton. Then he went into the freezer and discovered all the burger patties were gone, so he had to make new ones. All the bottles only had letters on them, and no one knew what was inside when it was time to taste. Plankton prepared his bottle, but the plan failed because he was still stuck to SpongeBob's tongue, and since SpongeBob could not taste anything, he added way too many spices. The smell was so strong, it almost knocked Plankton out. The result was a terrible Krabby Patty, and the customer spit out the food. Mr. Krabs was bathing in money, heard what happened, and ran out. As soon as he took one bite, his eyes almost popped out from the taste. He questioned SpongeBob quickly, and SpongeBob said there was no problem. Mr. Krabs looked at his tongue and realized he really had lost his sense of taste, so he sent him to rest and took the grill from him. SpongeBob went to Patrick to ask for help. Patrick said, "Maybe your tongue is dirty like mine sometimes." SpongeBob went home and washed his tongue with soap, but still felt it was not clean enough. So he went to the boat wash and cleaned it even more, but the taste still did not come back. And in the end, he decided to get a completely new tongue.
Mr. Krabs suddenly discovered that Gary had a very strange ability. He could suck in money. Mr. Krabs was extremely happy, took him to work at the Krusty Krab, and as soon as they arrived, he asked Gary to show his power. Suddenly, all the coins hidden in the corner started getting pulled in. Even the money inside the customer's pockets came out on its own. Anyone who entered the Krusty Krab had their money sucked away against their will. In a short time, Mr. Krabs' pockets were filled more than ever, but the customers became very angry and left the restaurant. That's when Mr. Krabs decided to close the place. SpongeBob was shocked and wanted to take Gary and leave, but Mr. Krabs ordered him to clean the kitchen. After that, he took Gary out to the street, pointed him toward a sewer, and all the money hidden inside it was sucked out in seconds. But Gary was about to collapse, and Mr. Krabs kept threatening him. At that moment, SpongeBob appeared, so Mr. Krabs pretended that he only wanted to feed Gary. SpongeBob believed him and went back to the restaurant. Suddenly, they found themselves at the amusement park, the place with the most money in Bikini Bottom. Mr. Krabs hid in a corner, and whenever SpongeBob showed money, he made Gary suck it in. But he didn't get to enjoy the money for long because someone alerted security. Mr. Krabs disguised himself as a pregnant woman so he wouldn't get caught. By then, Gary was completely exhausted, and with all the money around them, Mr. Krabs lost control and started imagining himself as a millionaire. But when he tried to leave with Gary, they discovered that his power had stopped. SpongeBob confronted Mr. Krabs and exposed his trick. Suddenly, Gary lost control and his ability activated on its own. The money in the customer's hands began flying toward him, and SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs started fighting. In an instant, the place was flooded with money like a wave. Mr. Krabs threw Gary towards SpongeBob and jumped into the pile of money himself, his eyes shining. He didn't notice the danger until he got badly injured from the massive amount of money. After that, SpongeBob asked the doctor why Gary had this strange ability. The doctor told him it was because Gary had swallowed a magnet. When Mr. Krabs saw the huge hospital bill, he panicked. In the end, the doctor took the treatment money from the cash that Gary had sucked in.
Mr. Krabs ordered SpongeBob to start work, but suddenly they discovered that the frying pan was missing. It turned out SpongeBob had taken it outside to dry, but when Mr. Krabs looked around, he could not find it anywhere. Still remembered leaving it in its place, and when he turned to check, he realized the pan had truly disappeared. Mr. Krabs did not care much at first, but SpongeBob noticed drag marks on the ground and began following them with his eyes. The trail led them to a club where they saw a group of kids modifying the pan. They had painted cool designs on it and even attached a steering wheel. SpongeBob was shocked. Mr. Krabs angrily tried to take the pan back himself, but the kids were not afraid of him, and in a single moment, they squeezed Mr. Krabs until he looked like a burger. SpongeBob rushed to save him, and in the critical moment came up with a smart idea inspired by his childlike nature. He started mocking their beat-up race car, so they agreed to settle it with a race the next day, with each side betting their vehicle. The next day, SpongeBob arrived at the race, dragging a primitive race car, and the surprise was that Plankton appeared, too, with his own race car planning to steal the secret formula from the pan. As soon as the race started, Mr. Krabs knocked Plankton out of the competition, and the race heated up. Neither the kids nor SpongeBob planned to give up. The kids threw obstacles to knock SpongeBob out, while Mr. Krabs was dragged and grabbed. Suddenly, a fork in the road appeared. SpongeBob pulled the emergency brake, which flipped all the citizens' cars. One of the kids cut SpongeBob's wheel with pliers, making the situation even harder. But Mr. Krabs turned the car into a board and slid them all the way to the fish factory. SpongeBob planned to plug the pan into a power socket, and after many attempts, he managed to connect it. As time passed, the pan heated up, and because of exposed electric wires, the kids were launched away. In the end, SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs won the race, but the pan flattened Plankton and turned him into something like a burger. After that, he crashed into a light pole. SpongeBob recovered the pan, and Mr. Krabs kept spinning around proudly, showing off his achievement. But the surprise was that the Krusty Krab itself had been dismantled and turned into a race car by the kids, who drove away with it.
One day, SpongeBob discovered a magical multi-purpose oil. An oil that could make plants grow if you put it on your head, remove wrinkles if applied to your face, and even had strange medical uses. When Mr. Krabs and Plankton learned about this miracle oil, they decided to build a money empire with it. One day, SpongeBob noticed a puddle of yellow liquid on the ground, so he brought some cleaner and put it on his head to clean the mess. But the soap soap bubbles accidentally floated away and entered one of Plankton's experiments, causing an explosion that set Plankton on fire. Not only did SpongeBob fail to clean the oil, but the blast also wiped part of Plankton's memory. In that moment, Plankton became extremely interested in the oil on the ground. Mr. Krabs rushed to stop him, telling him that this was SpongeBob's discovery, and the two immediately started fighting. At that time, Karen took advantage of the situation, collected a sample, and began analyzing it. She discovered that the oil was actually a mixture of Krusty Krab burger grease and chum bucket oil that had been stored underground for a long time and was evenly shared between the two restaurants. So Mr. Krabs and Plankton decided to work together and figure out how to profit from it. SpongeBob explained that it had strange uses like fixing teeth or working as deodorant. They liked the idea and opened a street stand, which caused a traffic jam. Mr. Krabs started selling and customers jumped off their boats rushing to buy. Then they decided to sell it door to door. Since the oil could power boats, paint walls, and remove wrinkles, Mrs. Puff immediately ordered 10 bottles. After that, they went to Sandy, where the oil could grow hair, make glass shine, and enlarge pine cones. When Sandy heard that it could keep the oxygen system running perfectly, she ordered a whole crate. Mr. Krabs soon felt that door-to-door selling was exhausting, so he built a huge stage to attract everyone, and he and Plankton began selling the oil together, gathering crowds around them. In record time, they built a complete commercial empire thanks to the strange magical oil.